welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market, where today we're actually going to have a double header. Two episodes posted this week to make up for the short video last week. And our subject is this lovely, distinguished gentleman. Well, technically, since it's a hermaphrodite, I don't know if that counts as a gentleman. Well, we're not going to judge. Anyway, this lovely specimen's scientific name is Perilla frutiscens variety crispa, also known as Perilla. Now, it is in the mint family, Lamiaceae, and the name Perilla comes from the word para, meaning a small bag, satchel, something like that, and it's a reference to the shape of the fruiting calyx, which is basically that leafy sort of cover at the base of the flower that holds the seed capsule or cup or whatever. Now, frutiscens actually doesn't mean a scented fruit, it means shrubby or growing to become shrubby. So, there's that. Now, Perilla is native to the Himalayas or Southeast Asia. It is hardy in USDA zones 10 through 11, but otherwise is considered an annual in any colder zone. And since we're in 8B, it is an annual. Now, I should point out, as an annual, it will readily resow itself. So it will come back in the environment once it blooms, which ideally you want to pinch the blooms to keep it from doing. Its soil pH preference is 5.5 to 7.0, and as you can see, this is just regular potting soil. It's nothing fancy down there. It prefers soil that does not retain too much moisture. It likes good drainage, good organic matter. Regular, plain old potting soil with vermiculite and perlite and all that stuff will be perfect for it. Now, its height can be 1 to 3 feet, and its width can be 1 foot to 1.5 feet. And this particular specimen is very much on the way to that level. Perilla is also known by a bunch of other names, such as beefsteak plant, shiso, perilla mint, and Japanese basil. And Japanese basil is the most accurate description of what it does in the culinary arts specifically. I'll explain the beefsteak plant name because that's kind of a weird one. Shiso, maybe I believe that's its local Japanese name since, it's popular over there. Perilla mint, of course, makes sense because it's in the mint family and it's called Perilla. That fits. Now, the downside of this plant is that it is considered a noxious or invasive weed in a bunch of states in the United States. The North Carolina Invasive Plant Council considers it a problem plant because it readily resows and it escapes cultivation. Which, in my book, is like, oh no, I have summer herbs. Whatever will I do? Yum, 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 yum. But, Now, here's where it really becomes a problem. Perilla is toxic to horses, cattle, specifically ruminants, goats, rabbits, cats, and dogs. So most pets can't do anything with it. But people are just fine. And in the case of dogs, most of the references state that the dog has to eat a lot of it. And it's gastrointestinal issues. Basically, your dog's going to get gas in the squirts probably. So I'm not sure you want that in your home. Anyway, the name beefsteak plant comes from the purple form of this plant, which I want to stop right here and talk about that. This is the green form. And the extra ruffled leaves indicate that it is variety crispa, though sometimes in the seed packet you will get the regular form that is not so crinkly. Either way, the purple form will sometimes become less purple and more reddish, and it'll end up looking like cut meat. Henceforth, beefsteak plant, because it kind of looks like it has the texture of cut beef. I've never personally seen this, but most credible references indicate this is the reasoning. So it's probably a fact. As I mentioned, this plant will self-sow prolifically and the seeds will overwinter. They will come up in the landscape, which can or may not be a problem. It depends on your purview on that. Now, the flavor is hard to describe. It's sort of like basil, mint, oregano, and a little bit of cilantro got together and had a kid. A couple kids. And it varies from plant to plant. It varies under growing conditions. It varies on the temperature. But it's an interesting flavor. The scent is woodsy and minty, so it doesn't smell at contact. It doesn't really have a contact smell as much as other members of the mint family do, but it is a nice aroma. It doesn't, if you didn't know any better, from smell alone, you wouldn't know it was edible. So that's the kind of smell it puts out. The flavor, though, I'm just going to talk about culinary uses for this plant. while we're here. The flavor, although it's called Japanese basil, is one of his names, it's not so good in pesto. Pesto makes it makes for a very intriguing pesto. Not something I would repeat making with the traditional. There's obviously something that needs to be added and taken out to make that work. But with some red pepper paste that's sufficiently salty and just a little bit burned, you can eat it on the leaves straight up. You can use the leaves in wraps. You can use them in soups. They're a distinct flavor. It's a pleasant flavor, and I happen to like it quite a bit. Now, some people say, I don't like Perilla, especially those horse people. You know who I'm talking about. They really don't like Perilla. They see Perilla, and it's like their kryptonite. Which, let me tell you, firsthand experience, that is some funny stuff to watch someone panic when they see a patch of Perilla just has emerged and they're having nightmare scenarios. But anyway, yeah, it is that bad for horses. But as a horse person, it's your job to keep the Perilla out of your animal. I again. Anyway, so culinary, it has a lot of uses. In the garden, it's still a mint, and its flowers are still going to attract pollinators. And it's an upright basil-esque looking plant with definably square stems, so you know it's definitely mint. And look at its stature. It's a pretty plant that you can grow in your garden. The purple one's more striking, don't get me wrong. However, in the seed packets that I've bought and tried to germinate this stuff, I've only gotten green. I'm not hurt about this because in the next video, you'll understand what I did about that. But anyway, this is the first of two videos you're getting today as an apology for that fill-in short video last week because work schedules were nuts, and I'll talk about that in the next video a little bit. But this is the basic green perilla with fancy leaf edges. So, if you have any questions or comments, please put them, respond to this video and put them on there. If you have any thoughts, you can hit up the blog, you can do all that stuff. If you like this and you like the channel and the content, please hit like or subscribe. It helps us grow. We hit the 500-mile mark not that long ago, and we need to keep on going. So, as always, folks, keep them growing, and thanks for watching.